Took me a while to realize what led up to me getting in trouble, and I often have to remind myself certain things that happened during my childhood weren't my fault. Like, I was a kid. So, you're not responsible for the things that the adults in your life are doing or not doing that they're supposed to be doing. You grow up and it just becomes the norm that you're raising yourself. My career in crime started with me going door to door for charities I made up so that I could have lunch money when I was like 12. I'm Vanessa. I'm a person with lived experience with the criminal justice system. I've been at OCDC behind us a few times. I don't remember exactly how many times. You're already kind of at your lowest or rock bottom when you're in a place like this. The staff come in and refer to you as a crack whore, just speak down to you, even when you're getting released. Oh, you'll be back, stuff like that. You come in here, you're treated like a slave. They had a sewing room, which it wasn't really a room, it was like a little closet. I would be in there all day from morning till like maybe 3, 4, and I would get paid 1 bag of chips and 1 chocolate bar for the week of work. I didn't learn any new skills because I already knew how to sew. In order to work in the sewing room, you had to already know how to use the sewing machines. I would have to sew any like ripped jogging suits or the men's like those coverall orange jumpers that they wear, or even the men's boxers when they got ripped. They don't give you new boxers, so you get boxers that were pre-worn, and even when they rip, they don't give you new ones. They send them to be sewn.
I don't think Canadians know that much about prisons in Canada. Much of what we all learn about prison comes from the United States. Prisoners making products for Victoria's Secret or Whole Foods or some of those big US corporations. And Canadians don't think about the fact that the prisons in this country are run largely on the labor of prisoners, and prisoners perform all sorts of work to make prisons function and produce all sorts of goods and services which are sold in order to subsidize the prison system. Inmates are exempt from the Ontario Employment Standards Act. They are also explicitly exempt from the Ontario Occupational Health and Safety Act. Ontario correctional regulations say if you are sentenced, you are obliged to work. Failure to work, failure to perform your job adequately results not only in discipline as a worker, but also an institutional infraction. Historically, we could look and say that the big innovation, what people were excited about when penitentiaries first emerged in the early 1800s, was that unlike older forms of punishment, these institutions were going to be able to transform people, to totally reform them. And this is where, the language of reformation, corrections, all of that comes from. And I think all of the discussion about rehabilitation is really, window dressing on what these institutions actually are. The rates of people who are homeless upon incarceration are dramatically high. The number of people who have experienced childhood sexual abuse, other forms of abuse, have mental health issues, who have suffered from traumatic brain injuries. Really, we could think of prison as a kind of welfare institution of last resort. It is a place to kind of collect and house people because they aren't dealt with in any kind of other place in society.
This is Hazel. She was 2 in August. We've had her since she was like 8 weeks old. My daughters wanted a dog. I am not a dog person, but she's growing on me. Some of my Halloween costumes I made, and these little Bo Peep and her sheep, I didn't even have a sewing machine, and I made these by hand. It was when I was very young and poor. I love this one because it's like all my kids. So the top is my daughter's brother, so he's my stepson. Then that's my second daughter. These two in the middle are my stepdaughters, so they're my youngest kid's older sisters. That is my nephew, and then my youngest two, and my another stepdaughter in the middle, and my grandson. And we have a picture of Kiana, my oldest. It's been quite a journey. You know, I'm grateful that I get to be home with my kids. Really hard at times. It was hard for my kids to have me away when, you know, I'm their only parent and they're used to me being there and very involved. So it's nice now that I get to be there. I get to, you know, sleep in a comfy bed with a pillow. I get to eat real food, not garbage. You've spent however long you've spent there, and you're being treated like you're a toddler, and then you're released and they don't care where you're going, where you're living. But if, you know, they'll tell you you have to go to probation, you have to get a job, you have to pay bills, you have to be responsible. Oh, you have kids, you have to go back, jump back into motherhood and take care of your kids full time. And after being treated, you know, like you're not even an adult, like you're a toddler, to go back into that is just so overwhelming. So this is why I understand why people become institutionalized.
Prison labor is contradictory in a whole bunch of ways. On the one hand, it is coercive, it is mostly menial, but prisoners still generally want to work, and as much as prisoners have organized and advocated to make their jobs better and safer and more dignified, there are many, many complaints about the lack of skills, the lack of meaningful work. This is a system that sets people up for failure, right? If a person works and makes basically no money for the duration of their incarceration, and they are released with no money in their pocket and no marketable job skills, what should we expect to happen? Whose interests are served by this? What kind of rehabilitation is this?
These days I am working as a doula, so I help babies come into the world. I don't even know how many births I've attended, at least 100. I kind of lost count, but I'm grateful for the women who allow me to share their birth space, because it's, you know, it's a very sacred space. So this was an event we did for Prisoners Justice Day with CPEP. So the woman sitting next to me is my friend Adar, and I met her at OCDC. And now we work together at the Bridge, and we also were teaching a course for birth workers, how to support people who are pregnant and incarcerated. And she has 10 years sobriety, and yeah, we're both doing pretty awesome, and we still do a lot of activism work and make sure that we're creating awareness, and the fight never stops. Jail not only doesn't rehabilitate, it a lot of times makes you worse. And for the people who have been able to, like myself, like get out of that cycle, it's not because I went to jail. It's because I found people who gave me a chance and organizations who cared and gave me the opportunity to, use my lived experience as an asset and not as some flaw or shame on my life. That's the only reason why I was able to get out of that cycle. Not because of jail, not because of probation, not because of halfway houses, not because of any of that. Because, if it was up to them, I would still be in that cycle. So, yeah.